Welcome to The Cleaning, a podcast about Apple TV show Silo. My name, I am Catfish, and with me, as always, is a guy who I consider a good friend in my own way. It's Bubba.
Catfish, I'm so excited to talk to you about The Mandalorian and Gray Goo.
No, Bubba, we are talking about Apple TV's Silo. We are in episode 8 of season 3, which means we are in the home stretch. So obviously, based on what we've heard and hints we've heard, this episode is really steaming us towards a great conclusion, Bubba. It's episode 8, season 3, Gray Goo. Knox's father, Gus, comes clean about a secret. Charlotte makes a life-changing decision. Bubba, this is what we like to call in the business a double P.
Double P?
A packed podcast, and that is why we are Double P Media. We're going to do our rankings of the episode. We're going to break down the episode. We're going to have a judicial debate. We're going to do the double D's, double K's. That is, as Bubba always knows, the deeply dumb Catfish community questions. We're going to discuss the Silo Slams, and this was a great episode for Silo Slams. We're going to do some Silo speculation, and we'll ask, is it a date? And we have got lots of feedback. And Bubba, if you are listening to the audio, at the end of this podcast, you get an extra special triple packed podcast. And Bubba's going to do a deep dive in the book versus a deep dive in the show. If you are watching us on YouTube, we're going to make it a separate video so we can keep all the book spoilers out of that. Bubba, we always like to say, who cares what we think? We want to know what you think. So let's prove that right off the top. Before we give our feedback, let's give some listener feedback, Bubba.
James V. He just started off his feedback by saying 90% juice.
That's right, baby. Anthony. Sims Jr.
Right. James says, I want to turn into goo with you, or whatever that jump the shark line was. Whoa, jump the shark.
Oh, my God. Now, look.
I like that line.
That sounds a little down on the episode. So let's just sprinkle in Gen X Cat Mom, who's at Almad Khan's, who said 9.10 quadruple S's for this episode.
Quadruple S's?
Yes, stuck up in sufferable Stensen sucks. Daniel and Helen have zero chemistry. Their helicopter scene was forced. Silo Slam was the Knox beach slap. Patrick Kennedy is the gift that keeps on giving. And the kids being protective of Jimmy is sweet.
Oh, yeah.
And Bubba, we got one more before we go into ours.
Let's hear it. It's Sayali on Blue Sky who wrote, although I've been very critical of the Shirley-Knox relationship, I feel like Shirley telling Juliette about Knox pulling out the birth control actually made me believe their relationship is real. Heart emoji. Felt like seeing Shirley and Juliette from season 1. Wow, that was a wonderful moment. Heck yeah.
All right, Bubba. Well, let's dive straight into our feedback that no one cares about. So I'm going to give this episode 8 out of 10, what I like to call ENPs.
ENPs?
As we all know, ENP stands for Elon's nanopenis.
Edit already.
Bubba, I came just to a realization part of the way through this episode. For me to enjoy it, instead of what I always focus on, which is all the problems that they have to resolve in the silo, I was going to focus on the personal and interpersonal aspects to this show.
Okay.
Because, I mean, in this episode, there was an attempt on fixing the real problems in the silo, but then there was just more roadblocks.
Always.
So instead of focusing on the plot frustrations I have, I'm going to focus on what I learned about the people in this episode, Bubba.
Great,
Number 1, I care more about Solo than anyone in Silo 18.
Wow.
Number 2, the Knox family is full of snitches that look tougher than they actually are.
Ouch, glass jaw.
Silo World Elon is just a light to me as a complete duck on the real world Elon. Let's focus on the reasons why. Number 1, This guy's actually smarter than the real world, Alon.
Oh, wow.
Instead of making money off of other people's ideas and government largesse,
Yeah.
and being a publicity-seeking showboat white supremacist,
Oh, boy.
this guy in the show is just a private showboater flouting how much more money he has than anyone else.
Yeah.
Now, he is just as much of an egotistical a-hole who uses his money to affect the world in negative ways. Now, he has his own bad fashion style, but instead of wearing two hats at the same time, he wears a ring on his index finger like a hipster college sophomore. And the only thing missing to tie him closer to the lawn is him trying to make jokes or be funny in a way that makes him seem like he's not a real human being. Here's something else I learned on Alon, Bubba. Helen has very low standards for dynamism in a partner. And also I learned once again, I have to suffer through Bubba lording it over me about correctly solving a murder mystery, Bubba.
Hell yeah.
So that is all I tried to focus on to make me enjoy this episode. There was a lot of running to stand still or running to get thrown into the clink here, Bubba. But who cares what I think, Bubba?
Not me.
Okay, so then let's hear what you have to say so I can just turn off my mind and not listen.
Listeners we love you for following along with our podcast, subscribing and giving your thoughts. And a couple of episodes ago, I said, I need your thoughts. And I hate to do it. I'm going to need it again. I'll go ahead. I'm going to tell you and the listeners the rating scale I'm going to give this. I'm going to give this episode double Bs.
Okay, double Bs.
Double B stands for Bubba Broken. The show has broken me. And I want to talk through this. When you have a great actor like Steve Zahn as Solo / Jimmy, and he is learning of his mother's heroic attempt to stop the safeguard procedure and her death, that is incredibly powerful. Solo Jimmy saying, I never knew anyone who died until everyone did. Oh my God, that is a 10 out of 10. That is the incredible, incredible highs that this show can be. I loved it.
And what about the Patrick Kennedy solo scene? He was bullshitting, but that was a different double B, which was beautiful bullshit.
So this show can be great, but all season I've talked about the roller coaster it brings me on, about how they're high highs and then they're low lows. And listeners, I'm just being completely honest. If you want my honest thoughts, this episode is every episode of Silo. There is great stuff like that solo scenes that we talked about. And then there's just really rough stuff. I had my rant last week, and I love it that people pushed back on my rant. I got great feedback from GabZ on YouTube, and I'm going to refer to that in the feedback. But what it really is I want to go to the listener we just talked about, Gen X Cat Mom, a great listener. She rated this episode 9 out of 10. And yet the second sentence in her rating, Daniel and Helen have zero chemistry. So she gives it a great rating, and yet she's like, I have this problem with it. I went online to see what other people thought. There's a site called TV Fanfic. They gave this episode 8, 4.5 out of 5 stars, aka 9 out of 10. And so you hear 9 out of 10. The second sentence in this 9 out of 10 review from TV Fanatic, says, I continue to question whether we really need the past storyline. Then later in the review, it says, I felt a little frustrated. In fact, I got angry. Then later in the review, that scene didn't make any sense. Then later in the review, just wasn't believable. The end of the review says, at long last, Camille switched her brains on. These are people giving this high rating, and yet, Gen X Cat Moms like Daniel and Helen, no chemistry. TV Fanatic, 9 out of 10 stars, frustrated, angry, didn't make sense, wasn't believable. What they're able to do that I'm just not, is they're able to see these bumps and just ride on them and enjoy the great stuff. And if there's a bump, they just, they kind of shake it off. Hey, we've got this great solo scene. And so there's some other scenes that have bumps, they shake it off. I just apologize to all our listeners. I apologize to anybody who doesn't feel this way, but I'm trying to be honest. These bumps I'm not shaking off. These bumps are making me at times hate the writers of this show. The Orla Kent mystery. I talked about it in the first episode. I said, boy, Orla Kent's boyfriend's kind of bad and evil. Catfish, you laughed when I said it. In the second episode, they said...
Because, Bubba, it was so obvious. Have you ever seen a red herring that turned out to be the truth?
Then how about in the second episode, Orla was missing. And I said, well, she's been missing. She was killed by her boyfriend. In the third episode, when it was like she's still missing, I said, well, okay, remember she was looking into a theft. She told her boyfriend. She also told her boyfriend she had a fight with the guy in the mines. La, la, la. That's what it was. And so this was the most anticlimactic ending to a season-long investigation ever.
Well, not just anticlimactic, Bubba.
Oh, my God.
But the whole reason that we were investigating it was because it was supposed to be attached to deeper things that were going on. They only found the deeper things that were going on during the investigation as a side note. So really her murder really had nothing to do with everything else that's going on.
Right. This whole storyline is to set up there's a secret elevator, which I do think will play a part in these final 2 episodes. But for me, that was just so frustrating. Then Helen and Daniel, who people think they have chemistry. Some people think, like Gen X Cat Mom say, they have no chemistry. They were bribed and then threatened to stop looking into the Iran investigation. They were bribed and threatened, said, no, by per Stensen's people. 2 things happened after they were bribed and threatened. Sam, the buddy of Daniel, called up and said, hey, look into per Stensen. And then Daniel rented a minivan and told Helen, hey, I'm going to keep investigating. Somehow those 2 things caused per Stensen, who was bribing and threatening them not to look into it, to suddenly say, here, let me come to my place. I'm going to give you $1 million and tell you every single thing you want to know. As viewers can kind of figure out, well, maybe per Stensen realized that they weren't going to quit investigating. So he thought, let's just bring him in. That is a logical thought that I have to do as a viewer to make this story make any lick of frigging sense. The final thing I'm going to talk about is we always have the book versus show spoiler podcast, and I don't ever really talk about the books in this section. But the show, said out loud the nanotech, like, hey, we're at a table, we're going to have this info dump about, hey, I'm building this silos because, there are all these problems in addition to this nanotechnology.
By the way, Bubba, if during that dinner scene you took a drink every time they said the word nanotech, you would not have made it out of that dinner scene standing upright.
Yeah, actually, I would have liked the scene more if I was drinking every time they said it. Here, I'm going to read from the book shift. This is book shift, page 68. You can see, if you're on YouTube, how early in the book this is. This isn't the equivalent of episode 8. This is page 68 of the book. So it goes, Daniel is talking to somebody. I won't give you that book spoiler who he's talking to. He's like, yeah, I've got to go to Boston. I have a meeting with Senator Thurmond. The person asks, why Boston? Daniel waved his hand. Meaning Senator Thurmond, is having one of those nano treatments of his. I think he stays up locked for a week at a time. He still somehow gets his work done. So that is the first mention. And if you see in the book, it is, it's like setting that this is a future world where people have nano treatment on their bodies. Like it is very kind of tossed out there because this is the second book in the series. Readers might start to think, But Daniel, who's, just a person, he doesn't see it as the end of the world. He's like, it's just a fact of life. He's not being sat down and monologued. We have to build these silos because of nanotechnology. No, it's introduced very early in the book. And for me as a reader, it really got me kind of interested, me starting to solve mysteries and things. And like, oh, they're dropping this hint. I wonder if that plays into later things. And so the show is really good and certain people love it. But if you ask me, what do I enjoy? I enjoy that kind of thing where like something is set up and I can kind of put it together. The show was like, maybe, hey, that's just a conversation. Let's have a fun cloud of mystery and a jet fighter blow up and all this stuff. And then we'll spend 7 episodes before we finally say the word nanotechnology. For me, it just hasn't been a fun ride. It hasn't been a fun journey.
Okay.
And so I'm going to end there. I'm not going to have a rant this episode. In the book spoiler podcast, I'll kind of have a rant. But I've just got to be honest that I've been broken. The show, I'm from now on, these final 2 episodes, I'm going to watch it for moments like that solo moment that I keep saying I loved. And I'm going to try to just ride this bumpy narrative because I think it's been poor. I think it's been poorly written. If they're trying to engage me, I think it's been a mess.
All right, Bubba, I'm going to assign you a very generous 6 for that.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to assign you a generous 6. All right, Bubba. Well, listen, we just talked about what we thought again, and we shared some listener feedback. We love to have your feedback. If we get your feedback, we try to turn the podcast around quick so that you can have it for the weekend. But if you can give us some feedback before we do our podcast, we would love to share it with you. So, obviously, by the time we put it on YouTube, we can't read your feedback until next week. But give us feedback on YouTube, Blue Sky, Threads, ENP's social network, everything.
Everything.
In YouTube, we are only 488,000 subscribers away from 500,000 subscribers.
Whoa.
Please join us. We need you with us. Think about how powerful we would be if we had 500,000 subscribers. Bubba,
Wow. Yeah.
Oh my God. This is the section where we talk about the podcast coming in the rest of 2026. And before we get into that, we had a listener, Celine Shanmugam.
Wow.
I know I butchered that last name. Said, any plans to review Vision Quest? Please do. It will be so much fun.
Wow. Well, when does Vision Quest come out? Because we might have already booked it with certain shows. And did you watch WandaVision, Catfish?
I did watch WandaVision.
I did too.
And
yeah,
I loved it kind of before it made its turn, because I was just fascinated by what was going on. And then it made the turn and it was still good, but it wasn't as great as it was to me before. But Bubba, I don't know when it's happening. First of all, how many weeks in a row have we been podcasting? We did House of the Dragon. We did this. We did something before that, which I can't even remember anymore. What did we do before House of the Dragon?
Well, I don't think you did anything. I think I did DTF St. Louis before that, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought there was something else.
Well, we did a Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yes. Okay, so we did a night.
Widow's Bay, Catfish. You're thinking
That's right.
Widow's Bay.
So we did a Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Widow's Bay, and this.
And the Terror Devil in Silver. How could you forget
the Terror Devil in Silver. Bubba, we've done so many in the last few weeks.
Yes. And you signed us up for Slow Horses.
How come we don't have 500,000? Well, how come we don't have 500,000 followers already? Slow Horses is going to start shortly after this. I'm very excited for this season. For longtime listeners of the Double P podcast, our old buddy Cyril Khan from Andor apparently is playing another good guy in this season of Slow Horses. So we are doing that, which starts September 17th, which is shortly after Silo ends.
Yeah.
Marble Hall Murder starts September 6th.
Yes.
We're waiting on Only Murders in the Building. No release date on that. Babylon Berlin Season 5 is in January of next year. Yep. Ahsoka Season 2, which luckily I don't have to pay attention to, is in January 20th. Yeah. And then the day after that, we have now committed to podcasting on Neuromancer.
Wow.
So I don't know, Bubba. I just changed phone plans so I don't get Disney for free anymore.
Oh, wait, no.
I did. All right. So I don't know. We'll look at Vision Quest and see when it's happening.
Yeah.
But Bubba, before we do that, before we get into the recap of this show.
Yep.
We used to do a bit called Better in the Silo.
Oh, brother.
Or Better in Our Real World. Bubba was upset because
you made the same joke 25 weeks. Actually, you did it last week, too. 26 weeks in a row.
It was not a joke.
It was the same
There was always something better in the silo. So then Bubba decided best job in the silo. I'm slightly changing it this week to best job on the entire show of the silo.
Sure.
Okay,
right,
so that covers in the silo and then the before times. For me, the best job on the show this week was the guy who got to fit Elon for his index finger ring.
Was that an aura ring? Could you tell that he was wearing? Was that an
I
aura
couldn't tell.
ring?
And first of all, you're pointing your pinky. It was so great because he put his finger up to her, and I was like, "Oh my God, this d bag
Hey, now.
has a ring on his index finger."
Oh, it was
Couldn't
on his
tell.
index finger? I
It was on his index finger.
Oh,
No,
okay.
Bubba, he raised up his index finger, and there it was
Heck
because
yeah.
he is so hip. All right, Bubba, what was the best job on this week's episode of the Silo to you?
Well, the best job was obviously the Joe Biden look-alike. I don't have to eat dinner with these people. I can just walk. I can just walk them to the greenhouse and then leave. And yet I still obviously make a lot of money. I still, if the world ends, probably have a place saved for me in one of these silos. Hell yeah. Good work, Joe Biden malarkey.
I can't believe neither one of us picked $200,000 a year just
Yeah.
to hang out in the damn silo.
Yeah, for sure. How about Judicial Raider? Dear God, you got to be available every hour of the day. There's a
Okay,
rebellion every hour. You're like,
worst job in the silo. I still think it goes to in the mines while you're alive.
yeah, it's tough. Listeners, hey, I've gone kind of crazy in the stuff I didn't like. We've talked about all sorts of things. Catfish had a 3-minute monologue roasting Elon Musk. Let's get into it, Catfish. Do you want to deal with? We've got 3 locations this week. We've got Silo 17, Silo 18, and the Before Times. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Ooh, let's go to the before times because chronologically that one's first.
It sure is. So when you look at the Before Times, last week from the helicopter, our heroes saw the digger. This week, Daniel is right up close. Everybody's staring at it, but he's the one who wants to walk up close to it. This apparently is an advanced design than what he used in the Army Corps of Engineers in New Orleans. And it immediately cuts from that to the farm where they go to eat. And once again, per Stensen, who just a few days ago, maybe a week ago, was threatening them and trying to buy them off. Now that they've signed the NDA, he wants to offer them a job. I think it's clunky and awkward storytelling, but ignoring that part, what did you think of all this information, Catfish? He's going to build 10 diggers and he's going to dig 50 silos, and the silos are for seeds. What do you think? What do you think about this? It's going to store the world's art, literature, and science. What do you think?
I mean, do you really want to discuss that? Because very shortly we learn what the real function of all this is.
Well, okay, sure.
I guess the thing that I'm confused about is so these diggers, how could you leave them in the ground? Like his idea, Elon's original idea was to pull them up and then reuse them again. Okay, that does seem like a lot of trouble. But on the other hand, if you're going to leave them in there, shouldn't they be hollowed out so that once they dig, then they're the silo? So I'm a little bit confused about this plant.
Well, I think you're getting at something. I didn't think of it that way. I think that once again, they're digging the hole and then something probably has to be going kind of while this is happening and doing the cement walling and support structure for the silo. But where I thought you were going was this digger must have a lot of technology in it. Why wouldn't it, if you're just going to leave it there, okay, that makes some sense, but wouldn't you kind of strip it for parts and bring that stuff up? That would the parts would probably be helpful, but based on one of the first episodes of the series, we saw the digger down there just left completely kind of as was. And so he has enough money. He can do it. He can do whatever he wants. And Daniel,
right? But if Daniel's saying just leave it there,
yeah.
So then I guess then the digger, the top of the digger, becomes the base of the silo.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you see it down in the thing. It's like it's the lowest level, and human beings are not supposed to go there. Like that was supposed to be a secret that only a few people knew about, like George back in season 1 knew about. I'm going to get to the kind of the big picture. Per Stensen, He says it. We're facing the end of the world. It cannot be stopped. It can only be survived. And what was it? The senator said, like, hey, you need a tool. It's better to have a tool when you don't need it than to be desperately in needing of a tool and you haven't got one. So
everybody, by the way, super enjoyed when she gave a twang to her either grandfather or father's voice. I can't remember which it was, but everybody looked at her like, please never do that voice again.
do you mean Senator Thurmond? Sorry, who is the
Senator Thurmond, she's like my dad said, it's better to have, and everyone's like, please, no, never do that again. Never do that again. That was like Brian Kelly being introduced at LSU.
Oh boy, that is a very unique reference. Right in the
everybody in
SEC,
everybody in SEC country will get it.
Yeah, better to have a tool and not need it than to need it and not have it. And
now, do I have to say that he makes he sounds like just a real a-hole for the most part, right? When he's like, oh, well, what is that? $1 billion? I spent $1 billion this year, $1 billion. You know when I run out of money? Never. You useless plebeian. But to be honest,
okay,
I was at least sold on his point that something is going to happen. Climate collapse, pandemic, asteroid strike. I mean, over the history of time, that is going to happen. I remember being really affected by a Cosmos special one time when whoever was doing it was like, all right, I want you to imagine the entire year. And if you imagine the history of our planet as an entire year, humans beings showed up at 10 minutes to midnight on New Year's Eve.
Wow.
So that's how long we have been here. So for sure, eventually something is going to come up that will threaten the human species, just like many other species have been threatened by climate on this planet. Okay. So that I'm sold on.
Did you get sold on his belief that human beings are always going to fight, right? Iran didn't drop a dirty bomb. They dropped the equivalent of a nano bomb on a section of around DC to stop us from building a bomb. And so the weapon is gone from to the cheapest thing, right? He's like, hey, it's easier to build one kind of nano weapon rather than build a giant intercontinental ballistic missile. Did you agree with that point? Does that make logical sense to you? It does, and sadly to me, that human beings are always trying to find ways to kill each other. So
yeah. And again, if that doesn't make sense to you, and he also says, I could buy Iran, again, what a just a horrible human being. But though that's only just one threat. Besides people threats, there are nature threats to the human species. So in general, I buy that. Even Helen was kind of explicit to that, even though she was still disgusted by the whole idea. She was still speechless about that. So, I kind of buy that.
Now, the show, I don't think dives too much into it, but just talking through this. So per Stensen, because he's a nanotechnology genius, somehow he must have tied into the U.S. government, and the U.S. government said Iran attacked us. We told everybody it was a dirty nuke, but instead it was a nanotechnology. We've got to strike them. We're going to strike them with one of Elon's advanced diggers. It'll take a couple of years, but we're going to blow them up with a low-level nuke. And you would assume, serving up Charlotte's fighter planes as, kind of a distraction.
I don't know. Can you tell me why Helen has to apologize for stating the obvious instead of Per Stensen or whoever had the idea
Senator
to send them in as cannon fodder? Why does Helen get in trouble for this? This is a kill the messenger situation.
Listen, Catfish, Anna said it clearly to Helen. What the F was that to achieve? Well, what did you try to achieve with that?
Calling Per Stensen and Senator Thurmond out for being, their ideas. This is sort of the idea of these kind of people that exist in the world now, is that what matters is that the human race goes on.
Yeah.
Samuel Bankman-Fried was contributing to this whole ideological movement. And so it's like, there's no question of like, their motto is the needs of the species outweigh the needs of more than a few. so this ideology exists today. So yeah, this is how they feel. It depends on how you feel about what they're doing. Depends on how long a range you take in your commitment to humanity. In other words, do you want to say, I'll give up something today so that I know that humanity exists 1,000 years from now? Or do I care about things being a certain way and, hopefully things will just shake out in a good way? These people are like, we know what's best. You shut up and you become cannon fodder. And then when you find out,
don't point it out to the cannon fodder that they were cannon fodder.
Yeah.
Helen, how dare you?
Yeah. That was just great. Helen, again, she was smart enough. She should have been like, why am I in trouble here? I didn't send you on this mission.
Well, Helen with Dr. Victor way back when had the right reaction. I'm getting that you're implying that she has the right reaction here too. I mean, I'm all Helen. Helen, everything she does, I agree.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
especially taking the money. She took the money.
Well, the only thing just to restate, the only thing I don't agree with her is her making an apology. She should have said, I'm not the one that needs to apologize. I didn't send you on this mission.
It feels like, and call me crazy, but it feels like, did they perhaps introduce this relationship between Anna and Charlotte, the infamous foot rub that we remember from last week, to give reasons why Charlotte would suddenly agree, okay, I'll go along with this, right? They tell her, hey,
I think so.
Pilots, but
I mean, it's a little hard, right? Because she also has her own personal therapist who, in my mind, does not have her best interests at heart. And so, he's her Dr. Machiavelli, really is his should be his real name. Doctor, or he could just be, my first name is Michael. You can just call me Dr. M. Machiavelli.
It'd be easier to pronounce than the character's actual last name.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
So Helen bounces. Let's just get there. Helen bounces. She tells him, good luck, Morlocks. I love that. Here, boy, I've been
That's
so
great.
tough. I have to grab these little moments I love. I love that line. Daniel is the one torn. He may not agree with it, but his sister just said, sure, I'll do it. And obviously he loves his sister, but they're not asking him to move into a silo, right? They're just saying, hey, work on the project. But he can't even do that. Do you agree with Daniel's decision to not join the Cray?
Do we know that's why he's doing it? Or is it just because...
Why do you think? Why do you think he's not doing it?
I mean, look at him and look at Helen and look at his personality and look at Helen's personality. I think he's making a better move if somehow Helen has been Stockholm syndromed into thinking that Daniel is an interesting human being, then he should stick with her as long as possible before she snaps out of it.
She is a silo sweetie. I'd be a Daniel. I'd be like, yes. Okay, let's talk about the line that our listener James V said was a jump the shark line. I want to turn to Gray Goo with you. And that gets a kiss. Guys, when you're out at the club, let's try this line. Oh boy. Catfish, did you believe it? Did you believe that these two who have had some flirty moments, that this line and this moment was okay, let's hook up?
The only one selling this relationship is the actress playing Helen. Again, I like I like Daniel, the actor who plays Daniel, but it just, sometimes you can have French fries or loaded French fries, and sometimes you're like, I can't do that. So I'm just going to have a baked potato.
My doctor won't let me have any toppings.
A baked potato, Bubba.
Yeah.
With yogurt instead of sour cream. That's what he is. Barely. The Gray Goo line was the sour cream. He's just been a regular plain baked potato the rest of this time. It's hard for me to buy it because obviously he's interested in her. But again, she's selling everything that is going on here, and she's trying to sell the hell out of this. All of a sudden, I'm interested in you only because you're the only person who knows all this, and
Yeah,
well, you're here.
that
But
works.
remember, 90% of success is just being there.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You've heard me. I've ripped a lot of the writing and the kind of clunkiness of this show. And I have to grab onto the little things I can grab onto. Good luck, more locks from Helen. I liked. As preposterous as this line was, I was glad, maybe I was just glad the show was getting on with it, but I was happy that they kissed. It was like, okay, let's go. All right, if this is the way it's going to be, let's go.
Right. All right, Bubba, before we get into our next recap section, we have to do our double S's.
The silo speculation or?
No, that's silo slam, Bubba. We'll do our silo speculation later. We've got some silo slam. Wayne Rogers says, Pierce Stensen is going to be a gold mine for Catfish's silo slams.
Yes.
Looking forward to that.
Wait a minute, Wayne, how you doing? Hell yeah.
Bubba, actually, there's not that many slams on. I just made personal slams that were required for Pierce Stensen. Bubba, let me just say this. The silo slams were so good, I didn't even put in the Morlock line.
Oh, wow.
I was like, because that was the end of them. Yeah. All right, so these are in chronological order, Bubba.
Sure.
Okay, first of all, now we're seeing Kennedy's side of the radio conversation. Mm-hmm. And he gets asked, is Juliette okay? And Kennedy says, of course she's okay. She's safe and sound. We're the ones getting shot at by some fucking thing in the sky.
Heck yeah. Give it up, Patrick Kennedy. Hell yeah.
All right. And Knox says to his dad, all my life I've wanted to ask you a question. How does it taste? And Knox's dad says, what the F are you talking about? And Knox just punches him right in the face.
Oh, man. Delicious. That's how it tastes.
Camille, this is sort of a backhanded slam. She says to her now imprisoned husband.
Yeah.
She says, almost seems happy to go back to how things were when I came home at night and you didn't.
Ouch. I wonder if she workshopped that with Sims Jr. Hey, Anthony, I'm telling you.
If she workshopped it with the algorithm needs to learn more about this.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, then Sims back to Camille.
Oh, wow.
Sims back to Camille because Camille's like, Juliette keeps telling me this BS story about the kids. What she really want there? And Sims says, if you can't believe that she genuinely wants to help those children, then I don't know you anymore.
Oh, hurtful.
And then, Bubba, the line I used to introduce you tonight, which was so funny, especially because of the delay in it.
Yep.
Bernard talked about, I did horrible things. I thought I was doing right. I poisoned a woman that I loved. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then he says, in my own way. And I'm like, okay.
Right. I had my notes of Bernard saying, I poisoned a woman. And then there is that pause. And I thought Juliette was going to go, do you mean Mayor Johns or Judge Meadows? Like, go through the list. Okay, sorry. Continue on. Well, these are all great slams. Are there more?
All right. Well, yeah. And after Bernard makes his mea culpas, Juliette says, I hate this. And Bernard says, what? Juliette says, not hating you.
Oh, man.
And this was funny. It's a beautiful setup, the whole thing. Knox is talking to someone. I can't remember. I think it was a sheriff or somebody. He said, my father's an a-hole, but he's a great engineer.
Yeah.
And the person says, so why did he spend half his life in the mines? And Knox says, because he's an a-hole.
Oh, my boy came home just the other day. Knox in the cradle and the silver spoon. Wow, Catfish. Have you got one more?
One more, and this is Helen's. I liked it even more than her Morlock line when she says, after Elon gives her his great offer, she says, I'd rather be blown to bits by a nuke or turned into gray goo rather than stick around for your post-apocalyptic mole people party.
Oh, bam! Ice cold, Helen. Dang, that one. I'd forgotten that one. These are all Catfish. You only gave this episode 8 out of 10. These are 10 out of 10 silo slams. How can you pick the best? They're all great.
They are all great. Bubba, and we had one of our listeners say it. I have to, when someone literally gets knocked off their feet by a slam, I think I have to give it to that one.
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
going to give it to Knox, even though Helen's is the most beautiful slam. What about you, Bubba?
I'm going to go the other way. So we had Juliette say, I hate this. Bernard, what? Juliette, not hating you. Do you think we could have switched that line with Helen and Daniel? Helen, I hate this. Daniel, what? Helen, I hate not hating you. Oh my gosh. And then would that have been better or cuter than the Gray Goo line? I don't know. Oh my God. So
It would have
good.
been less cringeworthy.
Love. Why do you hate love? All right, Catfish, we have two silos still to cover, Silo 17 and Silo 18.
Let's go Silo 17. Let's do it.
Let's do it. It begins with a flashback. Patrick Kennedy is out on the ground. He runs over to Lucas. Lucas was shot through his radio. They somehow get themselves inside the door. They're banging on the door, let us in. How in the world, if those kids weren't ready, did they know anybody was knocking on the door? It was incredible luck. Patrick Kennedy, who has been a wacky, fun character this whole time, he gets Lucas in there. He saves it. The kids are worried about the poison, as you should be. And Lucas tells them, listen, I was shot. It burst through my suit. If there was poison on me, it would have gone through the bullet hole. I'm still alive. Let me in. And then Solo, Jimmy, who we know has, I can't remember exactly how old he was when the rebellion happened in his silo. But how would you like the equivalent of
I thought he was like fifth or sixth grade, because that kind of feels like where he's stuck.
How would you like a 14-year-old performing bullet surgery on you? Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. So, Catfish, you said in your rating, you said that you care more about Solo than you do about anybody in Silo 18. Why do you love Solo/Jimmy so much?
Just because he's very human and he's vulnerable.
Yes.
And he's doing his best in a horrible situation. Now, I know that about just about most people in Silo 18. I mean, heck, even Camille, who I think is doing horrible things, is just still trying to do her best thing. But somehow he seems untainted. I mean, is it bad to say he's likable in a way that I'm not sure many people are in Silo 18?
I think so. I think it's totally. Let me say, I keep going back to what did I love in this episode that I had huge problems with him. He was great. I trust him. What's funny is I keep calling him the equivalent of a 14-year-old education. He worked on, think about all the things he did in this episode. He worked on Lucas. Then he got the radio working again. He figured out how to speak in code over the radio. This was incredible. He has to confront, he's still, once again, he kind of hit a bizarre period where he may have stopped aging. Around 14, he has to go and deal with the fact that his mother, who he never knew really what happened to her, and here's the real truth. His mother was a total hero. This whole section is gold. Really, really.
Well, first of all, Patrick Kennedy is funnier in this first part of the section over the radio than he's ever been before. And then he has some humanity when he's like, I don't know how to deal with this kid. And he gets a little pep talk from Lucas. And then he delivers this wonderful speech to Solo about life creating life and putting people on. I mean, Patrick Kennedy really, there's something about Silo 17 that really makes people much more likable.
Well, who do we need in there? Who do we need to move to 17 so they become more likable? Daniel?
Martha.
Walker's like,
Walker.
Let me go.
Walker. That's right. Walker. Yeah. Walker. All of a sudden she's like, can't wait to just walk around.
Patrick Kennedy uses his painful history of losing his wife to connect with Solo losing his mother. This is incredible. The kids, were you happy? Now, the kids, we really didn't spend much time with them in season 2. But I'll say even me, who, once again, we spent maybe what feels like an episode and a half with them being on our side in season 2. I was really happy to see them. Maybe just getting out of Silo 18. I'm so happy to be out of Silo 18 even for a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody is.
Yeah.
Everybody is more. Well, Juliette didn't seem to be really cheered up by being in Silo 17, but you know what? We'll see.
We'll see. Well, she got a little, at the end of season 2, she did get a little bit better. So the big part of this story is they don't even talk really about how are we going to get these kids back and Solo back to 18 so we can not be on our own as we've constantly been. The big part is we're going to tell you exactly where the safeguard pipe, as I'm calling it, is in Judicial that we've got to stop. Jimmy/Solo's mom got in, sealed herself in so that if she couldn't wield this pipe shut, all the poison would be trapped in there with her. Hero moment for Solo's mom. Way to go.
Beautiful. And to see the realization on his face when he's told that his mom was a hero was just really, really, really affecting.
Where do you imagine they'll go? Like, what's crazy is they're actually, of all the people in our silos, they're in the best position of anybody, right? Like,
they are right now. I mean, I think
right now they're by themselves, but you know.
Well, but it's not just that, but they have to get out of that silo.
Yeah.
That silo is drowning. No, that silo is drowning. That's why they need to get them out of there.
Juliette did her swim last season and turned on the pump. So at the very least, you would assume every time the water gets up to that pump level, it gets pumped out. We don't know. We never learned exactly where it gets pumped to. You know, probably silo 15. They were like, what the hell's happening in here? But,
or they're like, oh, extra water.
Yay!
That's true, but obviously, no matter what's going on there, they can't do anything. They're like, if they were like, "Hey, we can't wait to go to Silo 18," Pet kind of be like, "Well, I got good news and bad news." No, I don't. I only have bad news about that right now.
Bad news. Let's go ahead and get, if it's okay with you, to the Orla Kent critical supply storyline because
your favorite one.
This just frustrated me to no end.
Oh, did it?
No end. It frustrated me. Oh my god.
Why you only mention this now, Bubba?
Well, hold on. Even as I'm ripping it, you did mention a fun part. I thought it was real fun. The first part of this storyline is Knox asking his dad, "How does it taste?" But it's been such a let me go back to it a bit. So it's like we had heard Knox's father mentioned in season 2. Then this season, Mark, as I bitched about last week, Mark tells Billings, "Hey, go look for Knox's father." Then Knox hears this. Knox goes to ask somebody, "Hey, where's my father?" A guy tells him Knox dead. Knox goes to the original guy, Mark, and said, "Hey, my dad's dead." Mark says, "No, my dad's alive." And then he goes to where his dad is. It is really, if this was a video game, you would complain about, "Hey, go talk to this person, then talk to this person." I think we've all played video games like that. It's not engaging.
I would more complain about how easy all this seems.
Well, yeah.
First of all, you don't think that scumbag McGee there in the mines, Harwood, would just give it up so quick,
right?
And then what happens? Knox goes and finds his father, who's a real badass, and then Knox's father, who's been set up with a super sweet deal on Harwood, just completely folds and rats out Harwood.
Yep.
And now, and boom. So, I mean, there was the runaround, but after the runaround, you know what it was, Bubba?
What?
Speaking of video games, you've got it set on one setting. You're like, oh, this is just so hard. I got to talk to this guy. I'm dying in this section. So then you turn it one level down, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, 15 minutes later, I finished the game. This is what happened. The hardness level got shifted way down, and all of a sudden we're just steaming right through this.
But even within it, they're yelling at Knox's dad, and suddenly Billings feels like this is a good time to give a soliloquy about R.I.P. Orla Kent. Oh my lord!
Who's going to care?
Right,
Knox is not going to care about it. Knox's dad is really super not going to care about it.
Knox's dad obviously is taking the place of somebody else who died, so he doesn't care about people who died. Okay, breathe, Bubba. Oh boy, this is so tough. They go to Carla, And they're like, okay, obviously they're stealing supplies from supply directly. There's got to be a door. And you're right, it is a bit easy. Hey, we've moved everything that two people can move. What's the most heavy thing? Let me say that does sound logical, but it's just not dynamic. It's so
Okay, it sounds logical, but
good
then
point.
it seems like only two of them move the thing in the way, and then it only takes two of them to adjust the thing, and then it's just a click. So if it takes four people to move something, then obviously what's now going to be the new backup and shadow and supply, since she hasn't been killed, or maybe she's now in charge of supply. She moved it super quick.
Let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Harwood, if this is the end of the storyline, that Harwood saw that, was almost acting out of wonderful, good purpose. He's like, boy, if there's a rebellion and they touch anything in supply, now, of course, they can't get into supply, but if they did, they could really destroy things. So I'll go into supply and I'll hide things. If that's the end of the story, is that a good ending? Are you happy? Okay, it was stolen so much to protect it from being protected.
My question to you is, where is it then? It's in the mines somewhere, in a big shaft in the mines that nobody knows about?
Well, yes, but that goes to the elevator, the lift. In the episode where the rat poison went into the mines, what the show told us was that people searched all these tunnels, including long abandoned tunnels, because they thought, hey, somebody might be choking to death in here, and that's how they found Orla. So everybody searched all these tunnels, but didn't find any supplies like the light bulbs, and didn't find the secret elevator. Oh boy.
Hey, that secret elevator was behind a very obvious door that was locked, okay?
Okay, that door's locked. There's nobody in there choking from rat poison. I'm sorry. I'm sure our listeners don't want to hear me talk about it anymore, but
no.
It was. Do you have anything positive to say about it other than Knox punching his dad?
I mean, the only thing positive I have to say is that the mystery, which wasn't a mystery, is over now. And presumably now that this guy's been taken into custody, the sheriff might be like, you know how I said I didn't care that things were being stolen? Things are being stolen and I care now.
That would be a great cop.
All right, let's get to the more interesting part of Silo 18.
So, which one is it? Is it Camille and locking up her husband and every woman who watches this show says, I love this show? Or is it the Down Deep crew trying to cover up the pipe? What is?
The one that's the best is the Down Deep crew, especially, spoiler alert, the conversations that Bernard and Juliette have.
Yeah, sure.
So let's cover the Sims family drama first so that we can end with something that maybe you won't rant about.
Okay, well, even this, let me say that it's not great, but I actually kind of laughed a bit. The algorithm is giving Camille some therapy after.
I told you that should be his real job. That should be his real job.
It woke her up at 4 a.m. Hey, time for some therapy.
Well, she says, I'm tired. He said, this is not a time to sleep. She's like, it's 4 a.m. He's like, well, too bad. I'm an algorithm. You're not. You need to find out the real reason why they were sent to 17. What's amazing?
How does the algorithm not know? You've got to figure it out, Camille. I'm just an algorithm. I couldn't possibly figure it out.
Well, first of all, the algorithm goes, well, you know what? This is your problem now, even though I told you they would never make it there because I effed up. The algorithm, no apologies.
No.
Sorry, Camille, to put this on you. My plan didn't work. And now this is Camille. This is great. I don't know whether it happened. Oh, no, it happens after she goes to talk to her husband. So let's talk about her last interaction with the algorithm, which sets up the end with the other crew. So she goes to see her husband. She is concerned. She does not want their child to forget them, or at least her. She doesn't really seem to. She's like, you know what? Please, while you're in your jail cell, we're offering you as much water as you want. Please drink it all, Sims, you son of a. So Sims makes a funny joke, says the kid's 90% juice. He would be the last to forget.
Yep.
She asks him more about why Juliette wanted to get into Silo 17, and Rob and Sims is like, I'm just not going to tell you. Like, he did that diss. If you don't think she really wanted to save the kids, I can't tell you. So then Camille goes to the algorithm and she says, and this is funny because it's sort of set up the same way that the sheriff part of it is, which is where Camille says, look, you got to tell me what they're going to do. Otherwise, I can't stop them. So stop fooling around. We don't see it there, but obviously the algorithm tells her what they're trying to stop and where it is, or at least where it is. Just like we had to sit through like 10 extra minutes before oh my God, Knox's father built this, before we found out exactly what he built. All right, so Bubba, that's that section there. Now we'll go to the down deep crew plot.
Heck yeah.
Bernard's explaining the layout to Juliette. This is sort of I don't know whether this is set up and Bernard doesn't really know, and he's trying to make Juliette feel smart. He's like, how would you do this? And she's like, well, I would send 7 pipes, and then each of them would get 7 pipes.
Yeah, this is, I'm going to interrupt you. And once again, I've been so negative on this podcast. This little interaction I like. Like, hey, let's, we've known there have been multiple silos since the end of season 1. And here in season 3, episode 8, somebody's finally talking us through the process. I love this.
You're leading a little bit to what I'm going to say, what I liked about this, as far as in the past, I've complained why it would have been nicer to have some of the present time, let's call it ET, or EST, Elon
EST.
Standard Time.
Sure, exactly.
And to move that a little bit forward. But what it helps us think about here is now they're talking about the why. Why? This is what we have been talking about too. Mm-hmm. Finally, they're getting to it. Why would they need to kill a silo? Bernard's like, I don't know. They must have had a good reason. And then hopefully, then he says something very interesting where he's like, if we cap the pipe, maybe Silo 1 will reach out to us and tell us why they have this crazy idea. And if it makes sense to us, all right, we'll go down not remembering.
Yeah, I actually like this as well. This is like, these are the questions that once you heard there was a safeguard, and once again, we heard about that at the end of season 2, 8 episodes later, we don't have an answer, but at least people are asking the question.
Right. That's all we care about. We don't care about that. We care about, like, are these people thinking about the consequences of this and what is going on? The way we are, the people who are watching the show. And then Bernard talks about how he poisoned a woman that he cared for. As you said, he only mentions one. He probably only cared about one of them.
I didn't care about the others.
And then he's just...
He says, I will do everything I can to stop this tyranny. Now, I don't want to get to a spoiler alert, but somebody's got to cut that pipe and cap it. And we have a lot of candidates. And here Bernard is saying, I'll do everything I can to stop this tyranny. It makes me think, is he going to be one of the people to at least volunteer? I'm going to cap that damn pipe. Booyah.
Is he able to move around?
What if it's like, we need somebody to volunteer to cap the pipe? And Bernard's like, I can't.
I know.
Is that a yes?
I know. I don't know. I guess, what I didn't realize is that, well, I guess his windpipe is never going to recover from the burns.
Sure.
But that's fine. He could stay like that the whole time. All right. So then they've got a plan.
Did you like Juliette saying, oh, you mean this deadly plan where whoever does it has a good chance of taking the poison in and dying? Well, I couldn't do it because I could attract attention.
Smart. And also, when she realizes they're doing it in the wrong place, she goes to Shirley, and Shirley's like, you came up here to stop me because now you realize I'm pregnant. No, I'm just pointing you to the right pipe.
We had our
No,
great
listen.
listener. We had our great
Yeah.
listener, Ciale, talk about how she liked Juliette and Shirley's interaction like they were back in season one. Did you like this interaction? Does it make you, like it made her, a Knox and Shirley shipper? You're happy for this little baby.
No, it's good. It's good. And it's interesting because we did some silo speculation, even if it wasn't under that, like
Yeah.
how they were able to become pregnant. And it turns out they did it the natural way, which is surgery.
Selective surgery, self-selected surgery. Wow. I even gave a little LOL to Juliette when she finds out she's pregnant. She's like, is it Knox? Name another character. Is it Deputy Hank? That she should have gone through.
What about Silo Ren?
Silo Red, exactly right. Juliette realizes she gets this call from Sandy. It's this code that somehow, even though Juliette has been given vitamin D plus for months, Juliette is able to remember back to season one and realize that Sandy is telling her, hey, it's a trap.
You know what? They were worried about the audience also having vitamin D plus. So we got a real flashback. I was a little confused because I thought that Sandy was going to be at that real pipe.
Right, exactly.
So she was at the right pipe, but not the pipe that Juliette told her to go to. So that feels a little wonky, right?
Wonky is the kind word for it. Yeah, exactly right.
All right. So Juliet's like, all right, I still can't do this. So but I'll go and you figure out another way to do it. She gets thrown in the cell with her buddy Sims.
Oh man, heck yeah.
Camille comes in. She says, you made your choice to Sims.
Oh, wow.
Boom.
Brutal.
And then, you know what? And then the Down Deep crew comes up with an idea that probably made you happier than anything, Bubba.
Yes,
they decide, let's blow up Judicial, even though Jules is there.
and then everybody's like, oh, she would want it this way.
Yeah.
Somewhere Juliette's like, wait, what?
Why not? All right, Bubba, so tell me.
I'm going to kind of lead us into silo speculation.
Okay.
If the vitamin D plus has been going into the water, am I correct in saying we haven't seen a single person take any vitamin D plus yet? Like
we haven't seen a single person start to lose some of their memory.
Did the judicial raiders take it, or did Camille tell them, hey, while you're on this assignment, no water? Like what is... It's odd that the show hasn't shown us anything. How about Anthony Sims Jr. drinking some water? So do you imagine that the show is going to finally reveal to us somebody show us the effects of drinking this water, Catfish? What do you think's going on here?
You know, that would be really helpful. But again, this is just like House of the Seven Kingdoms, where all we care about is the people in power. And we don't care about, House of the Dragon. Yeah. We don't care about anybody who's not in power, or we're not going to even see how they're affected by what's going on.
How many days do you think the water has been in the supply? Is this all just been one day in Silo 18?
I don't even know. It's probably only been 3.
It had to have been at least one day because Patrick and Kennedy and Lucas left at night.
Yeah, that's true. Well, like 4 a.m, I think.
Yeah.
Right, and then Camille got woken up.
Right, and then she got her therapy. It's tough times for poor Camille.
All right, Bubba, we've got some silo speculation from a great listener, Ella Fieldpops, who says the algorithm in its voice is actually the dog we saw in Supply communicating through a voice dog collar, like Doug in the film Up. That is amazing.
What I told Ella in the comments, she wrote that, and I said, but instead of the dog in Up always went squirrel, squirrel, this dog is like Shirley, Shirley.
Oh man.
Catfish, let's get to some silo speculation.
Okay.
And let's get to big picture stuff. We were, Juliette and Bernard are saying, hey, why, if they want us to live, why would they have a pipe that could kill everybody in the silo? Let's get to the outside part. Everybody who's gone outside without good heat tape, we've seen them dead. Juliette, Lucas, and Patrick Kennedy, we've seen them go outside without good heat tape. They've survived. If these are nanobots that are the true
they went out with good heat tape.
Sorry, with good heat tape, and they didn't, like die, look like they had been poisoned.
Except for Lucas's suit.
Yeah, he
got punctured.
Right, it got punctured, and theoretically, we haven't seen him act like he was poisoned. Like he didn't die immediately, like Allison and Sheriff Holston did. What I was saying is the nanobots, if that's what kills you outside, the nanobots ripped apart Charlotte's jet. Are you telling me that somehow the tape means the nanobots couldn't rip through, Juliette or Lucas or Patrick Kennedy? What do you think? Let's hear your speculation. What in the world is going on outside?
Okay, so it's funny because I was watching this episode slightly ahead of you.
Yeah.
And I sent you a text message at the beginning of the show saying, whoever wrote this episode loves to use the F word because it was all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And then I said to you, they also love the word nano even more.
Yeah.
So this is the first, like you said, this is the first time we're hearing about nanobots. So it's funny that you mentioned nanobots as the cause of what's wrong in the world because I only heard about them tonight.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking for so long that the cause of the world is some sort of climate thing and not nanobots. And last week we had an attack by an actual, sounds like a drone or a robot.
Yeah.
I'm still not thinking that nanobots is what ruined the world and is keeping it in that ruinous state. Again, you have the knowledge of the books. Who knows if they'll go by what the books are saying as far as explaining what happened and what's continuing to happen? Because those are two different things, right? Or possibly two different things. I'm still not convinced that nanobots are what the cause of the trouble or is still the cause of the trouble. It seems environmental. Not saying that nanobots couldn't cause. Obviously, they could cause an environmental disaster, but I'm not sure that nanobots is what's killing the people with the badly taped suits or killing people who are exposed to the outside.
Well, how about this? Do you think Per Stensen was being honest when the jets flew into the clouds of mystery, as I've been calling them all these weeks? Was that nanotech that destroyed the jets? Like he said, that's why they drilled in underneath and did that low level nuke is to destroy Iran's nanotechnology. Was the cloud the nano?
Well, I would believe that the cloud is the nanotechnology. I'm not sure why they would have to. You would think that you would need to more distract Iran while you were building that 75-foot tunnel. Yeah. And once you've done it, you wouldn't need an attack to distract them. You could just set the bomb off. I do believe that it was a nano attack. I guess that makes the most sense. I mean, it's the only way that you could attack those planes and also affect the car that was like bought at some fly-by-night rental company, because it's something from the outside that's controlling it instead of something that you've placed inside ahead of time.
Back in season 2, when Jimmy was talking about his, what happened with his silo, I could have sworn he said something along the lines of people didn't automatically die at first when they went outside. And so I think there's got to be a clue in that. I would wonder if it is somehow nanotech. Does that explain why the antechamber is what is it? They set it on fire for 4 minutes, and then they don't open the door for 2 days. Is that what Knox was saying when they were trying to get Julie and Bernard out of the antechamber when they got roasted? I think there are clues in here, but it's just in my own mind. And listeners do know I have read the books, and I'm trying to just talk this out, not necessarily give away any spoilers. But my own mind, if Iran's nanobots could destroy a fighter, they couldn't destroy a concrete bunker. I don't know how nanobots work, I don't know. Boy, this is so interesting.
All right. Well, you have to re-listen to the They Might Be Giant song about it.
There you go. There you go. Hey, let's go in for a judicial debate.
Mm-hmm.
Catfish, Helen,
Mm-hmm.
and Daniel are given an offer seemingly to be a seed. They don't have to be, but they are given an offer. Do you want to be a seed? If Earth is destroyed, do you want to turn into Gray Goo outside of a hole in the ground? Or do you want to be a Morlock and live? Life, you only get one life. Even if it's in a silo, is that better than being in than being dead?
Now,
guess,
Bubba, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to ask a different question, and my
sure.
apologies if to me it sounds like a more interesting question.
Oh, no, go.
My question, what I thought you meant when you said, do you want to be a seed is, do I want to be one of those testers that goes underground for a year
Yeah.
and gets paid $200,000? And it all depends on whether I'm the judge or working in the mine.
Listen, we got a
Is it gonna
position open up at the Ed Harwood position. Catfish,
Is it
200,000. That's good money.
I mean, it's good money, but after taxes, no sunlight, it's just going to turn into the now, by the way, partially debunked, or in some cases, very debunked Stanford experiment.
Yes.
There's been a lot of research on how sloppy that research was.
Yep.
So anyway, my answer to it's a conditional yes.
Oh, okay.
What's my job going to be
in the seed? What if it was? Oh God! What if it was? I'm going to give you a real tough one. What if it was head of IT, and that meant you had to talk to the algorithm every minute of the day? You could be woken up at 4 a.m. to go talk to a computer. Would you still want that job?
I mean, is it the head of IT that talks to algorithm all the time? I thought you were going to. Your pitch for being the head of IT as your favorite job was you get to sit in your ass and spy on people all day.
Oh, there you go.
Episodes. Yeah.
Flock camera. You have flock camera across all.
Oh my God.
Listeners, however way you want to do it. Do you want to be part of Per Stensen's, year-long test? Do you want to be part of these people like Juliette Silo18 who've been living there for possibly hundreds of years? Do you want to be a seed? At Double PHQ on social media, go down in those YouTube comments and let us know. Woo.
All right, Bubba, it is time for the double D's, triple K's.
Well, I think I know this. It's the deeply dumb community question starring Catfish.
Wow, I love it. I got top billing here.
You did.
All right, we've got some feedback from a listener, and I actually did, since I saw we had feedback from a listener, I covered some of my deeply dumb questions about how people were in certain places when they shouldn't have known and other stuff like that. But Dogs in the Yard gave us some deeply dumb questions.
Let's hear them.
He said, my questions leading to the final stretch of the season are, how is it possible to get 500,000 people in one place at the same time? Is there like a stadium or something that holds this many people in Atlanta? Then select 50 groups of 10,000 each to go into the specific silos. Now, this is an interesting question in that, at least for the test, they only said 1,000 people each.
Oh, I thought they said 100 people each in 50. That's what I thought.
Oh, yeah. So it was very lightly staffed, which isn't really a great test because 100 people are going to interact much different than 1,000 people or 10,000 people. Bubba, how is it possible to get 500,000 people in one place at the same time?
Taylor Swift concert.
Perfect answer. All right. His second question. Have we seen Knox's father in a past episode and just didn't know who he was?
I can probably find that out via IMDb, but do you want to take a swing at it, Catfish?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because, and I'll just tell you why. Because if they hired this guy before and he was just in the background, they still would have had to pay him as a primary actor, and they were like, "We'll just do that at the time." So okay, this is an interesting question.
Okay,
what will happen to Shirley's baby if she drinks the water? She hasn't even remembered anything yet. What's she going to forget?
Could you forget you were actually pregnant? Like, is that possible?
No, but she's asking about the
You're
dogs in the
right.
yard is asking about the baby.
Yeah, I mean, you tell me. I have no idea. I have no idea. I think it's a great question.
I mean, since a baby kind of, I think at first it just sees shadows and voices and stuff like that. If she's young enough, it will have no effect on her. Okay, here we go. Number 4,
Oh,
Bernard
wait a
used
minute. Wait a minute.
poison.
Can I
Yep,
pause you for a second, Catfish?
tell
You're going to
me.
love this. You
Yeah.
might love this. Okay. So, no, Knox's father has never appeared on Silo before as an actor.
Okay, there we go.
Guess what incredibly popular movie from the 80s Knox's father was in? And then when you guess and get it right, would you be able to guess his character? Oh my. This is incredible.
RoboCop.
That is the right idea. It is a sequel that is very popular. Some people say it's a sequel better than the original in the 80s.
So it's going to be Alien 2.
It is Alien 2. And do you know which character in Aliens 2 Knox's father was?
No.
Okay, so his character's name was Lieutenant Gorman, and I'm pretty sure he's the one who's a
No, he's the a-hole lieutenant who panics. He doesn't know
Yes,
what to do
that's
when they go into
exactly
the
right.
ship.
That's
And Ripley
exactly
has to be
right.
like, pull it together, bonehead. Oh my
Hey, that's
goodness.
Knox's
Wow.
father. How could you be so cruel to him, Ripley? How dare you?
All right. Well, once an a-hole, always an
Hey,
a-hole.
wait.
Okay. Dogs in the yard. 4. Bernard used poison to kill Mayor Johns and Judge Meadows.
Yep.
What was it? Where did he acquire it from? Will this be used again at some point on a larger scale?
Wow. Wow. Well, I know he acquired it from one of my silo sweeties, Nurse Amy. Yay. Way to go, Nurse Amy.
One. Who's your other one?
I have no idea. Oh, wait, what do you mean? No, Helen, reporter Helen, is a silo sweetie. I called her the person who was not Orla Kent, who was Ed Harwood's daughter. I thought she was kind of
Okay. All right. Lady Harwood. All right. Here's the Dogs in the Yard's last question. Where is Ron Tucker?
Ron Tucker.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is.
I think this is.
It's not a. Is that a book character, Bubba?
What if it's Ron Mexico? That's a deeper cut than your reference.
Wow. Wow. That requires some deep Atlanta Falcons knowledge. All right, Bubba.
All
this
right.
is great. This has become my favorite segment, Bubba.
Oh no. Oh no.
Is it a date? We've got some comments from our listeners.
Okay.
Brandon TV says, "Is it a date if you're on a plane and she asks you to rub her feet?" That is a date. And James V says, "Foot rub."
Foot rub. Is a foot rub a date, Catfish?
A foot rub is it's either a date or it's just a person you pay $20 an hour to in Los Angeles.
Hey,
It's amazing how cheap you can get a foot rub. Yep.
Garo Yoso rated episode 7, the previous episode, 9 out of 10 IKADs.
IKADs?
Is kidnapping a date?
Oh, depends on who you are. All right, Bubba, here we go.
I'm going to ask you, and you give us the answer for episode 8. Is it a date? If you're having dinner with a woman and Elon Musk is also there, is it a date?
Well, it's not a date for you, but she might end up having a child whose name is just a symbol for pie.
Boy, you dislike Elon. all the people who like Elon have quit listening 2 hours ago to this podcast. If the word nano keeps getting thrown around while you're speaking to someone, is it a date?
It may be a date, but it's not going to end well.
If the person you're with calls for an Uber in the middle of dinner.
It was a date.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, how about this? If at the end of a long day, you're making out in a helicopter, is it a date?
It's a bachelor overnight date.
Heck yes. Finally, it's a day. Silo, sweetie Helen, let's go.
Let's do it.
Hey, the only thing that matters, listeners, is your feedback. Catfish, I'm worried to go to our first section of feedback because it's just going to encourage you to be even worse towards our silo father, Elon Musk. So PGNRR wrote, The fact that every other show is trying to parody Elon Musk is just boring at this point. Be more creative. So PGNRR thinks it's boring, Catfish.
Well, let me ask you this question, Bubba, because
Sure.
if someone's going to do this, if someone's going to do this kind of thing, it feels like it's going to be mentioning how much money this costs. It feels like it's going to be either a worldwide consortium, or this is going to take so much money from the military.
Yeah.
My question to you is Per Stensen behind this in the book, or did they sort of create this character out of whole cloth? Because when this book was written, Elon, there was a kind of a different feel around Elon.
That is 100% true. Hopefully, listeners, you don't mind this minor book spoiler, but there is no Per Stensen in these novels. It is a completely show-created character.
All right. Somebody who's got a little pushback on me calling him Elon, Lola O says, Per Stensen is more Peter Thiel and less Elon Musk in my eyes.
You see
Noted.
It? You see
Noted.
Okay. Alvin wrote, y'all are so very entertaining and a great podcast, but I kind of admire Elon, LOL. Oh, thank you, Alvin.
All right, Hot Sauce says, Catfish, I'm here for the Elon bashing.
Hot Sauce,
and then you replied to Hot Sauce, no need to encourage Catfish. Please do not encourage Catfish.
Zoned Gaming wrote, oh my, another Elon Musk character archetype. Are there a lot of
evil Elon Musk
are there
archetype.
A lot of these? I guess maybe I'm not noticing them.
Well, here's the thing, Bubba. You know, what's funny is kind of what we as a society are worried about shows up in our movies and entertainment, right? So it used to be we were worried about Russians. There were a lot of evil Russians,
Rocky
bomb stuff like that, right. And then we were more worried about Middle Eastern archetypes, and now it seems like in the last few years, because we're worried about this kind of thing, about people who are rich sort of controlling and being big movers in the world. There are a lot of these kind of archetypes. Even in James Bond, we see these kind of people who are kind of running the world, and it's like they come from like the world of science and technology. So yes, I do believe that we are seeing more of these archetypes, but it's just sort of a natural extension of kind of what we fear as a society, and also what's politically correct. Yeah, after a while, you're like, you know what? We do not want to see another movie bashing, an evil Middle Eastern archetype. Although the Israel Special Forces show is coming back on Netflix somehow, I don't know how that's going to go over.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, hey Catfish, our last bit of Per Stensen specific feedback is from our great listener Reenie6, who said Per Stensen's unicorn bit was pretty horrifying if you think about it. We can't even breed dogs without creating monstrosities. I love all dogs, but some of them are overbred. That's from Reenie6. So there you go.
That is absolutely true.
Anti-unicorn.
Well, and also, I mean, a lot of the short-nosed dogs that are being bred now are, what I've read, just maybe 20 years away from not being able to breed at all because of the way they've been bred.
Very sad.
All right. So, Bubba, we've got some feedback on, look, we've got two different characters here. We've got bright, shiny, braggadocious Per Stensen, Elon Musk, and then we've got Representative Daniel Keenan. You know what? People also have strong feelings about Daniel Keene. Greg Bergen says, I can't bring myself to believe such a dish rag can become a congressman.
Whoa.
We could take out Daniel's entire presence and we wouldn't miss anything.
Whoa.
In the show, he just follows and has no role making anything happen. He adds nothing.
Our great listener, Link Hogthrob, wrote, Daniel has zero chemistry with anyone. Oh my God, that is brutally brutal.
But he also goes on to say that his chemistry with Helen is ice cold.
Ouch.
All right, and another good listener who provides us great feedback, Conrad Conrado, says the minivan drive in episode 6 was useless, but it had great potential.
Oh, okay.
In one episode, they could lose control of the vehicle and at the end got neutralized inside by some kind of sleeping gas, then crashed and died in the official version.
Okay.
And in the
official
next
version.
episode, they're woken up in the facility and then introduced to the plan, but still to the point that we don't know everything. Biden man told them stay away off this case. They didn't listen, and now it's too late. So in this way, they would be the first people in the silo after a few drinks of water.
Oh, wow.
This would make so much more sense. The writing is starting to make me worry about the show. Conard is with you.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
Bubba, let me read this next feedback.
Sure.
Because Bubba, I asked a question last week.
Okay.
I said, why are they so focused on stopping the poison, which is a further out worry, than the forget me now, which is now in the water? And
Yep.
Bubba, I have to say, I agree. I pre-agree with this listener because I was listening to this. I was listening to a podcast last week on the walk, and I was screaming at myself, essentially what this great listener was saying. Tris Ramos says, anything our heroes try to do, like stopping the D+, may trigger a safeguard.
Whoa.
Stopping the safeguard must be the highest priority, and then they can fix everything else, like D+ and dethroning Camille. It'd be great if any character would explain why there are other logistical problems with stopping D+ besides the safeguard, which I think is a bluff. I did realize, yes, the safeguard needs to be stopped first.
Catfish, what if our heroes end up stopping the safeguard, but everybody in the silo has had too much vitamin D+, and they're the only ones that remember? That would be horrific. Whoa.
Well, that would be horrific, but they would still be alive.
Amen.
Except for the people throwing themselves off the balcony.
Sims family feedback. Chris gave us the feedback. Sims, as if a mother wouldn't recognize her kid's jacket. Come on, Sims, that makes no sense. Why do they even need jackets? Does the weather ever change in the silo?
That is a good point. They should at least make it rain occasionally. Dr. Det Fink says, Camille, the Mussolini of the silo, making sure the workers come on time. Wow, that's rough on Camille. Poor Camille, she's trying to do the best she can.
Feedback on episode 7. Our podcasting pal W. Axel Foley said, I'm finally happy with Silo. Okay, he's better than me. He said, episode 7 was one of the best episodes in the history of the series. I love Tom Hanks' son as an evil villain because we all know that secretly Tom Hanks is probably an evil villain himself. Much like Catfish. What? Hold on.
Yes, I run things behind the scenes. Bubba, we have got some feedback on what you talked about last week, your roller coaster of enjoyment on this season. Dylard says, I appreciate this comment. Exactly how I feel about House of the Dragon 2.
Oh, wow.
I feel bad for people who can't enjoy things that are still overall good. Life is too short.
Thank you, Di Lion. Hungry Like a Lion wrote, I adore this show, but I think Bubba's right about the weird writing decisions that show up sometimes. The past storyline has not played out in a very satisfying way. It's not ruining the show for me. I adore Silo, but I'd never say the show isn't flawed.
And the good Shirley, that's our Shirley who's a commenter, says, with this pacing, I don't see how they're going to reveal much in the 3 episodes that are left. I'm super intrigued by the critical supplies theft, but I think the writers will disappoint here too. Shirley, I cannot wait for your feedback on episode 8. Did you feel that moved the ball forward? Did you like the end result of the theft burglary, even if it was just the reveal of the other things that were going on? Because obviously the critical supplies murder is not that great. And Bubba, we got some feedback on your rant.
Oh no, let's hear.
Pedro Hernandez says, another rant. Yeah, he should stop watching the show.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, I mean, at times I want to bang my head against the wall and on the power button, so I don't see that episode yet. Now, Gabsy, I mentioned this at the beginning. They gave me some great feedback. They wrote, because my rant was Mark's motivations are not consistent within the show's own universe. It doesn't make a lick of sense. So Gabs is right. Mark told Billings about Knox's dad because all the information Sheriff Billings was going to get would be Knox's dad is dead. Now, let me say that generally could work. But Gabs is, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying the way I would think of it is some guy that you respect has faked his death. And you respect him so much you haven't even told his son that he's faked his death. And the son is your friend. But you're going to tell a cop to go look for this guy even though he faked his death, that seems very, like I have to kind of.
And you hate cops.
Right. I have to kind of roll my eyes to say Mark would do this, even though he believes Knox's dad saved his life. So he'd tell the cop, but he expects the cop to only figure out that Knox is dead and not that he's still alive. And then the cop is, in the end, is going to give him the information he wants about the raider who killed his other buddy. Like, I love this feedback, Gabs and Gabz, and I hope that it makes sense to you. It still doesn't make sense to me.
All right. Well, Pedro and Gabsy, look, stick around.
Yeah.
Even through the rants, I feel like we have some fun here.
Yeah.
We point out the fun things, the silo slams, how much we loved Solo and Patrick Kennedy, the MVP of this week. So please join us next week for episode 9. Farewell. Even though it's not the last episode of the season, so don't get confused. And the description is the entire silo is stunned by an announcement from Camille. Daniel and Helen attend a special event.
For everybody here.
Is it a date?
For everybody here at Double PHQ and the Cleaning Podcast Silo. My name's Bubba. Find me on social media at Fit and Trim, FITTENTRIM, at Fit and Trim on social media.
And I am actually evil Catfish. You can hit me up at G to the man on, that's GEETOTHEMAN on Instagram and Blue Sky. And we will talk to you next week on The Cleaning. I guess we should say to farewell to Pedro as a listener. You pissed him off.
If he made it 2 hours into our podcast to hear us.